everybody. Welcome to ICC's Game of the Week, with your host, as always, Joel Benjamin. This week we have another topsy-turvy game, this time from the French Championship. Grandmasters Romain, Edouard, and Jean-Marc Degraeve contested a sharp King's Indian Benoni hybrid, where counting pawns and exchanges were just part of the equation. A critical miscalculation in the tactics ended up deciding the result. Well, who made the mistake? Let's find out. Edouard playing white, Degraeve playing black. And as mentioned, it's a King's Indian, but by structure it's also a Benoni, as we will get to. So the same-ish variation, which many years ago was a very feared weapon and was, for a time, perhaps the main line against the King's Indian, but nowadays it's not played so often. It's kind of considered to be really just almost an even game, but certainly a lively way to play. And of course, in the King's Indian, basically black is going to hit back with e5 or c5. Here, this move c5, when I was a kid, black would often play moves like b6 to try to get this in, and eventually it was discovered that it's really fine to do it right away, because although white can take this pawn like so, after knight c6, black has a pretty comfortable compensation counterplay here. Usually knight coming d7, and then the knight's starting to jump in on the dark squares, and I think that that black is pretty okay, and generally white doesn't try to take that pawn anymore. Now, if white wants to get to a similar position as in the game without allowing the maneuver that Degraeve plays, white can opt for d5 immediately, and we'll get the same type of position. But here Edouard instead played knight e2. Okay, black takes, white takes back with the knight. Comfortable Maroczy position for white. So we see knight c6, d5. And now black usually puts the knight on e5. And we can continue knight g3. It's also possible to bring the knight to c1, a little bit more positional, I guess, to play on the queen side. Knight g3, e6, and this is how we get to the Benoni. ed, cd. These moves are not forced, but very typical in h5. That's kind of a typical move, kind of chasing the knight away, creating squares for the knight on f6 to get out of the way, to open up the queen and the f-pawn, and to try to kind of be proactive in the fight for the king side. That's a very typical type of King's Indian Benoni position that we can get out of this same-ish. But instead, Degraeve plays knight a5, a known move certainly, but not as contested as often. Knight to g3, a6. This should be to an e6. So black is getting ready to take on d5. And so if we have an exchange of d5, white takes back with a c-pawn, b5 will be on. However, the move a4 runs into some problems, as here black can play queen b6. Now normally bringing the queen out like this just gets the queen into trouble, because the knight on a5 is helping out, preventing white from ever playing a5. This maneuver of the queen to b4 is actually bears some fruit for black. There was the game Postny against Sarish from a couple of years ago. It's kind of awkward for white to hold on to this pawn. And this maneuver, the knight to d7, threatening to come in here. White played f4 to keep that out, but then the knight came in to c5, and black has lots to play on the queen side, probably already clear advantage. So it's a very dynamic opening, and it